learners, welcome to our session today. I'm your instructor, CPA Aringo Frederick. So in our class today is a continuation of what you were doing earlier on. And recall, in our last class, we had introduced organizing function. We had also talked of the importance of organizing. So in our class today, I want us to look also at a very important concept under this, and that should be the aspect of process of organizing. Process of organizing. So that's the concept that I want us to deal with today, process of organizing. A very important concept that if we also grasp it, you'll find that it will be very easy for us to do what? For us to understand the whole concept of organizing. So looking at this process of organizing, looking at the process of organizing, what should we have at the back of our mind? Process of organizing. At any given point, you're talking of process of organizing, my good students. What must we always recall? So this process, ideally, it will involve the following, because at this point you'll find that it is a process that ideally will involve determining what work is needed to accomplish the goal, assigning those tasks to individuals, arranging those individuals in a decision-making framework, and ideally, whenever we're talking of a decision-making framework, we are looking at organization structure, so that the end results of organizing process is the process. The end results of the organizing process is an organization. So at this point, a whole entity consisting of unified parts acting in harmony to execute tasks to achieve what? To achieve the goals. So ideally, we are looking at a process whereby I'm bringing all these resources together, whereby you say that first of all, I have to determine what work is needed. I have to determine what work is needed, right? The task, what work is needed. After I've identified or I've asked ourselves what work is needed, we're also going to look at what work is needed, of course, to accomplish the goal. What work is needed to accomplish the goal. What work is needed to accomplish the goal. To accomplish the goal. What work is needed to accomplish the goal. Who needs to be assigned that task? Assigning the tasks. Assigning the tasks. Assigning the tasks. Assigning the tasks to individuals. Assigning the tasks to individuals. Also, we'll be looking at arranging the individuals in decision making, arranging the individuals, arranging the individuals in a decision making framework. In a decision making, arranging the individuals in a decision making, arranging the individuals in a decision making framework. Arranging the individuals in a decision making framework. So all these are what we are going to ask ourselves. For us to achieve this task, first of all, I'm going to ask myself, what work is needed for us to accomplish this? Who am I going to assign this task? And in that case, how will I assign these individuals to a working framework, which ideally normally talk of what? An organization structure. So also you'll find that at this point, we'll also be looking at what? Organizational structure. Then, the moment we are good on all this, so this one you can now comfortably look at now the process. What is now organizational process that you must always have? Looking at this process, looking at the process. Number one process that you must always have, and then whenever you're talking about process, my good students, I know by now, we know very well that we're looking at a systematic flow of if it is information or activity. It should be in a systematic manner. That's what you're terming it as what? As the process. So always, number one process, whenever we're looking at organization, I should be able to review plans and objectives. Very key. We should be able to review plans and objectives. We should review plans and objectives. We should review plans and objectives. So maybe if I may ask, for example, I know it might sound probably to be a normal question, but let's see how we're going to think about that. Review plans and objectives. If I may ask, for example, what is objective? What do you think objective is? Whenever you're talking of objective, what do you think objective is? Yeah, that's the question. What do you think objective is? So that we see how we can review that. So we normally find that whenever we're talking of objectives, ideally, we normally talk of specific activities that must be completed to achieve goals, right? Specific activities that must be that must be completed for us to achieve certain goals. This is what we're terming them as objectives, right? Specific activities that must be completed to achieve certain goals, or to achieve the goals. Or about plans. Plans ideally is going a form of plans shape the activities needed to reach those goals. So at this point, managers must examine plans initially and continue to do so as plans change and new goals are developed. So that's why you're saying the first process is to do what? I need to review our plans, because as at the end of the day, what are these activities that we must perform for us to achieve these goals? And plans, as we mentioned at this point, you'll find that we are going to shape these activities needed to reach these goals. It's kind of shaping the activities needed to achieve these goals. Ideally, this is what you're terming it as step number 1, and always very important. Review plans and do what? Review plans and objectives. Review plans and objectives. After we've reviewed our plans and objectives, number 2, because already we know exactly what you want to achieve and what are the activities that are required. So in this case, we need to also determine the work activities. 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 Determine the work activities necessary to accomplish objectives. Necessary to accomplish objectives. Necessary to accomplish objectives. Necessary to accomplish objectives. So we've reviewed our plans, right? Step number 2, you're saying determine the work activities necessary to what? To accomplish the objectives. And objectives, we mentioned these are the activities that are going to, we mentioned objectives as a form of specific activity that must be completed. So you're saying that at this point, I need to determine the work activities. What are these activities that we need to do for us to accomplish what? For us to accomplish our objectives. So managers simply list and analyze all the tasks that need to be accomplished in order to reach organizational goals. That is number 2 step. Number 3, process of organization or organizing. You normally talk of classify and group the necessary work activities. Classify and group. Classify and group the necessary work activities. 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 Classify and group the necessary work activities into manageable units. Into manageable units. So you're saying that at this point, after we have determined the work activity necessary to accomplish the objectives, we also need to classify and group the necessary work activities into what? Into manageable units. Because at this point, probably, it could be so huge, right? It could be so huge. So it's just upon us at least to do what? It's just upon us to classify these into manageable groups, meaning that I'll be classifying this element, I'll be classifying these elements into, I'll be classifying these elements into the manageable units, whereby I can easily maneuver through these units. These units. So that is what we've mentioned in regard to classification and grouping of work activities into manageable units. Then after we've talked of that, number four, process. On that case, we can talk of we can talk of assigning activities and delegate authority. So we've already classified. Remember this point, we've reviewed our plans and objectives. We've determined the work to be done. We've classified if it is people with the same skills. We've classified them together. Then number four, we are talking of, now we want to assign. Talk of assign activities and delegate. Assign activities and delegate authority. Assign activities and delegate authority. So already I'm having a group, right? Because I know very well that these are the individuals who are going to perform these tasks. So I'm assigning the activities and also delegating that authority. Number five, we talk of what? We design a hierarchy of relationship. Design a hierarchy of relationships. Design a hierarchy of relationships. Very key important steps that you must always be having at the back of your mind. Because if you can recall some of the principles of management that we had talked about, they should be that unit of command, right? They should be that unit of command. And in unit of command, my good student, this whereby an hierarchy will always come. Or we talked of also scalar chain. If you can recall the principles of management that we had talked about, also scalar chain is very important, right? And this is why also in our organizational activity or process, we should always design a hierarchy of relationship, because we'll always know who is answerable to who. Say for example, maybe in that plan I'm taken or I'm given, I've assigned a duty of a junior. So before I go straight to my CEO, you'll find that at this point I'm going to follow the steps. I'll go to the supervisor. Supervisor will go to the manager. Manager will go to the general manager, till this information probably will reach the highest level of authority within that organization. So always have at the back of your mind whenever you're talking of organizing, first of all, I should clearly review my plans and objectives. Of course, already we have plans, right? So you're reviewing plans and objectives. Then step number two, you say, I'm going to determine the work activity, or rather the work necessary to accomplish these objectives. The moment I've already known the work that I need to do, in that case, I'm going to classify and group the necessary work activities. Maybe if it is, say, like finance. Finance is so wide, right? Take a very good example when we're talking of organizing in a finance department. So actually, so that you can get this concept clearly. Whenever we're talking of organizing in a finance department, you'll find that, first of all, we've been able to review very well that at this point, my objective is to come up with the budget for the whole company. We need to come up with the budget, right? So in that case, that is our goal. I need to come up with our budget. So I'm going to review whatever that we need to do for us to come up with these budgets. For us to come up with this budget clearly, what is the main objective of the budget? The main objective of the budget is to guide the company, right? On utilization of its resources. Number two, determine the work activity necessary to accomplish these objectives. For us to identify, or rather for us to accomplish the preparation of budget clearly, what are some of the activities that we're going to do? Which type of budget are we preparing? In this case, I'll be focusing on what? Meaning that the previous data to be used previous data to be used to be what. So determining the work activity necessary to accomplish these activities. I'll just identify what are the activities necessary to accomplish this case. Of course, I'll be having, do we have, say, like the previous data in relation to financials for each and every department, maybe talk of costs that we previously used, so that it can really assist us. Do we have the data from human resource department? Do we have this data, say, from sales department? Do you have this data, say, from procurement department? So it's kind of determining the work activities that needs to be performed. Then after we've done that, I'm going now to classify the necessary work activities. So that in this case, you're going to say that we have a budget for the whole organization. And for the whole organization, maybe I'm having these departments. We have HR, I'm having finance department. We are having, say, like talk of maybe procurement department. We are having, say, like sales and marketing department. All these are the departments that we do have. Is kind of classifying and group the work activities into manageable units. So you should be having HR unit, finance department, procurement, sales and marketing department, right? Remember, you're doing a budget. Now come to talk of assign the activities and delegate authority. So on this case, I'm going to say that for this department, I'm going to give a certain, say, employee X, employee Y, employee A, employee B. Correct. I've assigned and delegate the activities. At the same time, I'm going to do what? I'm going to employ, or rather I'm going to assign, say, individual D to lead this team, to lead the team. So that individual D will report, say, to now probably the manager E. So you'll find that I'm following this process. We are following this process in doing what? In organizing. And it is always very important for us to always have these steps. It's very important for us to always have these steps. So you'll find that again here, it will bring another concept, which ideally you'll also be looking at it, where we are talking of what? Organizational structure. The moment I'm able to understand this process, as we had clearly mentioned here. The other concept that will come out is in regard to the organizational structure. And also want us to have a preview on what organizational structure is. So that should take us to organizational structure. That should take us to organizational structure. Organizational structure. Organizational structure. Organizational structure. Looking at organizational structure, my good students, what must we always recall? Or if you're asked to define what organizational structure is, what can you say? If you're asked to define what organizational structure is, what will you say? 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 So you'll find that organization structure is defined by its configuration and interrelationship of positions or departments. So again, you're looking at whenever we're talking of organization structure, the main definition on that will just be looking at how have we kind of arranged, how have we arranged probably our activities within our organization, within our organization. So just a moment, I'm trying to share something here with you guys so that we go together. Let me see if it will share. Okay, anyway, as you're looking at that case, maybe you can clearly define this organization structure. We'll just be sharing that right away, whatever that I wanted to share on the screen. So an organization structure, ideally, normally say that it is a system that outlines how certain activities, it is a system that outlines how certain activities are directed in order to achieve the goals of an organization. I repeat, you are saying that it is a system that outlines how certain activities are directed in order to achieve the goals of an organization. As simple as that. As simple as that. It is a system that outlines how certain activities are directed in order to achieve the goals of an organization. In order to achieve the goals of an organization. In order to achieve the goals of an organization. So basically, that is the main definition of, organizational structure. That is the main definition of organizational structure. Now, after you've talked of that, you'll find that another concept that we'll always be looking at, but that one is in the next class, we'll be looking at the elements of organization. We'll be looking at the elements of organization structure, or at times you normally term it as what? Structures, types of organizational structures, And the beauty part of it is that we've also provided these notes clearly just below this video. So thank you so much, and let us meet in the next session.